Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Best and Worst of Walt Disney World. I'm joined on my right by Mr. Steve Porter.
Hello.
On my left by Mr. Oliver Green.
Hello.
And as we have been all month, we are coming to you from the Royal Asante Suite at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. This is their presidential suite, and it's sweet. It's sweet. And we have been talking so far this month about our theme this month is how to navigate the parks during the busy times. Some what we think the 5 best tips. Although for this one, I think we only have 4. But we're going to be talking about Animal Kingdom and how to make the most out of Animal Kingdom during the busier times of the year. Now, we are recording this in December. This is to go up in December. So specifically, we're talking about the Christmas season this month, but these strategies work regardless of whether it's Christmas, Easter, spring break, the summertime. There's a lot of busy times at Walt Disney World. So let's get into it, talking about Animal Kingdom. Our first tip for getting the most out of Animal Kingdom during busy times relates to the safari, the Kilimanjaro Safari, one of the most popular attractions at Animal Kingdom, with good reason. You get to see some pretty incredible things. But if you really want to see a lot of animals, you want to do this safari first thing in the morning or toward the evening, toward the end of the day. And why is that, Steve? Why do you think that's...
The animals are just a little bit more active. Some of them, their sleeping schedules are, I know like the lions in particular, they really rest in the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. And so if you're there at Park Open, I've actually did rope drop one day and I got right there and the lions were walking around and like kind of checking out the trucks and everything. And it was really, really cool because, it's more than just them laying there. And that's great too, but it's something special when you kind of see them walking around and everything.
Well, that Pride Rock, when you get to the lion area, mm-hmm. that Pride Rock is actually refrigerated.
Oh.
So it encourages them because they don't want to be in the heat. Mm. So they're more inclined to lay out on that rock during the day. That was one of the ideas that Imagineering came up with to kind of people want to see the lions.
Yeah.
And the safari is definitely one of those attractions, and we were talking about this earlier, that you need to pack a little patience with, because the animals are free roaming. And while there are natural barriers set up throughout the safari to keep them from going any place they shouldn't go, and certainly it's not unsafe, but what will happen is there are times that animals will wander into the roadway where the trucks are driving, and the policy is they stop. Mm-hmm. They stop and they wait. They don't chase them away. They don't do anything to get them out of the way. That's all part of how they manage the wildlife at Animal Kingdom. So they wait. And so there are times those trucks will be stopped for 20 minutes waiting for...
This can be a great thing or a horrible thing. It's horrible if you're in the standby line waiting for... That's when those standby lines for that attraction really, really creep up, because if an ostrich is in the middle of the road for 10 minutes, that's just an extra 10 minutes that are piled onto your weight. But if you're on the attraction, you can actually get some really cool pictures.
Yeah.
If that happens.
And that's one of the other things to bear in mind with that particular attraction. They don't really stop. They will slow down at certain points. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure your camera will take pictures. You want to use a fast shutter speed, because otherwise your pictures are all going to come out blurry. I've learned that the hard way. But so Kilimanjaro Safari, first thing in the morning or later on in the evening. Second is regarding Expedition Everest. Mm-hmm. This is one of, I think, only 3 attractions at Walt Disney World that utilizes the single rider line. Now, we mentioned this in a previous show. We'll mention it again here. The single rider line is just that. If you are okay being seated without your immediate traveling party, or if you're traveling by yourself, the single rider line is there for you, and it goes considerably faster in most cases than the standby line. So let's say they have 2 or 3 open seats in the train car. They're going to fill that from the single rider's line. So that's certainly a great way to ride Expedition Everest if you don't want to use a fast pass. Obviously, fast passes are always a good idea, but
it can also allow you to ride it again. Animal Kingdom is one of those parks sometimes people consider it a half-day park, but if you're trying to stretch it out to make it a full-day park and you've already used your fast pass for Expedition, ride the single rider. You get to go again.
Well, I hadn't planned on talking about this, but a couple of years ago, our former producer, Dustin West, did an amazing couple of shows on Undiscovered Animal Kingdom. He used to work at Animal Kingdom, and he did a couple of shows talking about all these little details that most people will miss. And you can do a tour that points out a lot of these things, but if you want to pay for the tour and learn about it, so maybe we'll make sure in the show notes for this to put a link back to those shows so you can check them out. They were incredibly popular shows when they were done, and for good reason. They're really, really well done. So that that helps, stuff like that, because there's so many details in Animal Kingdom that are easy to overlook. And if the lines are crazy and it's really busy, but you want to do something interesting, kind of take in the details of this park. And even though that's not a bullet, maybe that should be one of the 5 bullet points, because we only had 4. But the details in this park, not that all the Disney theme parks aren't really rich in details, but I think it's more pronounced in Animal Kingdom than it is at any of the other parks.
The theming is, I think, has the most layers to it in that park, I feel like.
It's one of the most immersive ones. When you compare it to something like Magic Kingdom, which is, it's great at what it does, but it's very much like attraction. And that area and the attractions are themed around this thing, or this theme. Animal Kingdom's not. It feels like you're in these parts of the world, and it does a really, really good job of pulling you in there. So, even if you don't want to stand in line for attractions, just being in Animal Kingdom itself is an experience. So.
Now, we talked a little bit ago about fast passes, and this is also one of our tips, about how to use your fast passes at Animal Kingdom. And when we were sitting down kind of brainstorming this, some interesting things were mentioned. Use the fast pass. If you're not going to get early or late, use your fast pass on the Kilimanjaro Safari. That's a great one to use it on, for the reason we just pointed out, that sometimes that ride can back up because the animals are unpredictable. But
it will just help so much in the planning of your day. Because so many people out there hit these parks with a plan and a schedule. And if you,
I'm sorry, a news article just popped up on my screen here that Bob Iger apparently is going to join President-elect Donald Trump's advisory group.
Okay.
So Disney's going to have a voice in our government.
Wow.
But that has nothing to do with the show, so we'll save that for our Tuesday show.
We would have already, by the time you're watching this, we would have already told you on a different time, but this is when we first found out.
Yeah, so. I literally just found out about it. Just saw it on my iPad pop up on the New York Times.
That's crazy.
But anyway, go ahead. We'll talk about fast passes.
I was just saying about it, when you hit these parks, you hit them with a schedule of what you want to do. And
a schedule.
A schedule for everybody else. And this will really throw a spanner into the works if you stand in line.
A what?
A spanner. A wrench. It'll throw a wrench into the works. Honestly, sometimes it's like I speak a different language.
You do?
I speak proper English. I speak
American
English.
Yeah, well, I speak Queen's English too. It's just American Queen versus British Queen.
The point I was making was, if you stand in the standby line and it says 30 minutes and you think, awesome, this fits into my plan for
and
the
what
day.
the hell is a spanner?
A wrench.
Why don't you just call it a wrench?
Because in England it's called a bloody spanner.
It's a wrench, not a spanner.
This got derailed.
Go ahead.
I made my point.
Oh, have you? I couldn't get past spanner.
Put a spanner in the works. Google it. It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Everyone out there that's English, please comment below and let Pete know I'm just not crazy.
And if
spanner
you're
in
an
the
American,
No, I know he's not- I know he's not crazy.
correct him.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing you under the bus.
So the suggestion is not to use your fast passes on Everest or Dinosaur.
Because they're more they're less erratic. You've got more of a guarantee. If it says 60 minutes, it's most likely going to be 60 minutes or slightly less. It's they're aware of how often that attraction will go down, how many people it can actually hold in there. They know it inside out. Just comparing that to safaris is without argument the most erratic attraction on property in any of the parks.
Yeah.
For the standby line, so you really cannot trust it at all. Because even that walk on 10 minutes wait can sometimes not be that at all. It can still turn into like a 20-30 minute wait. All it takes is an animal to decide it wants to have a sleep in the middle of the path.
Right.
And yeah.
So the last item on our list are some of the walking attractions. Utilize some of the walking attractions. This is something that Animal Kingdom is unique to Animal Kingdom as opposed to some of the other three theme parks. The Maharaja Jungle Trek over in Asia, incredible. You get to see white tigers and bats. The bat exhibit is just bizarre, but really really cool. So you have just some really different type themed experiences where you're really kind of up close in a safe way with some animals that you wouldn't normally be able to be that close to.
It's a way to experience the animals, after you go on the safari, and still you don't have to wait in a line or anything. You can just...
Right, and you can kind of go at your own pace.
Right.
Also, phenomenal photo opportunities. Some of the best photos you will take at Animal Kingdom will be on some of these attractions. So you have the Maharaja Jungle Trek. You also have the Pangani Forest Exploration Trail, which is right off of as you're exiting the safari. You can go and do this. And that's where you're going to get to see the gorillas, the silverback gorillas. And again, amazing photo opportunities. And they always have cast members who are knowledgeable about the area. They're kind of giving information, answering questions. Really very unique experiences.
I will say on the heavier, more crowded days, you might have to wait a little bit just to get that front row view of the gorillas or some of the more the tigers or whatever. But compared to the heavy attractions on crowded days, it's no comparison.
Also, pet peeve of mine: if you are the person that's up front, be mindful of the fact that there are 3 layers of people behind you trying to get up there too. So certainly take your pictures, take in the experience. But if you're camped out there for a half hour, expect a head wound. So just be mindful. I just wish people would be a little. I try, like when I'm doing stuff like that, try and be mindful of the people behind me. And I want to take some pictures, so I'm going to take a little bit of time to get my shot. But at the same time, I'm not the only one in the park.
It also bugs me when it's like a family of 6 or whatever, and they all spread out in the front instead of kind of just rotating amongst their group and only taking up 1 or 2 spots, and they just take the whole front rail and they
You hate families, don't you, Steve?
No, I'm just saying that they can rotate without taking up so much space.
Steve hates families. Oliver can't speak right, and Steve hates families.
No.
Welcome to the diss.
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm just funning with you, Steve.
Now I'm gonna have Steve hates families, # Steve hates families in the comments.
I want that all over Twitter.
I'm gonna put that.
I want it all over
now.
the
Hashtag
Steve hates families. Steve hates families.
The problem is that's now gonna become a thing.
# Steve hates families.
The other one, less popular than the 2 I just mentioned, but worth a check out if you've got nothing better to do and you just don't feel like standing in long lines. Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Yeah.
There's a train ride back there, and there's, and I don't know if the microphones are picking this up.
Oh, it definitely will be.
Every afternoon in the lobby of the Animal Kingdom, they have authentic African entertainment. So they're doing drums and chants, and of course this is a cavernous lobby, and if you're, in the concierge lounge trying to relax, and there's all this banging and yelling going on, and it's nice for about 10 minutes, but it is very authentic and very cool, and people love it. So just so you know, if you're hearing that right now, That's what that is. My mother is, in fact, not playing the bongos in the next room.
It's not a cry for help.
It's not a cry for help. Yeah, there we are. Those are our, I guess we had five things. We talked about doing the safari early in the day or later in the evening, single rider lines on Expedition Everest, the use of Fast Pass on safari but not on Expedition Everest or Dinosaur, walking attractions, and what's the one I'm missing because I didn't write it down?
You said single rider?
Mm-hmm.
Rafiki's Planet Walk?
No,
I don't know, we spoke about that.
We talked about it. Go back and watch it.
Yeah.
You don't remember. This is
Distracted
short
by the
attention span.
bongos.
This is a life of hard living. This is what happens to your brain. After a life of hard living, you can't remember 20 minutes ago. So that is those are our tips for how to get the most out of Animal Kingdom during the busier times of the year. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next week for another edition of the best and worst of Walt Disney World. Thanks, everybody.